today we have Sinead Kilcourse with us today, breaching the subject on long-term illnesses, which affects quite a lot of people. So Sinead, tell us about yourself.
Hi,
how
Daryl.
you got there?
Thanks for having me. As you said, my name is Sinead Kilcourse. I am nearly 42. Was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer nearly 3.5 years ago now, when I was 38. I am a physio by trade, and I have 2 little people at home who are now 9 and 4.5, and his good self. So that's it really in a nutshell. But I suppose, the big diagnosis was the stage 4 breast cancer 3 years ago, yeah.
And how was there signs up until that?
So, not that I was aware of. So for me, historically, there's no family history of cancer for me on either side of my family, which I was very incredibly lucky to say. And when I presented to the doctor, Imogen was only about 16 months. So I was still in my head very postpartum, still very newly postpartum. I was just back at work. And it was literally, I got a pain on the left side of my chest wall in bed one night. And I just remember thinking, oh, that's unusual. I better check that. Never thought that it was cancer. But definitely felt when I did the breast check that there was a difference left on right. And I thought, okay, well, that's not right. We'll go and we'll get that checked. But never thought it was cancer, ever. I actually thought it was like hormonal or maybe something postpartum. But then when I did present to the doctor, there was also a change to the nipple as well. It had inverted slightly, which again, I was a little bit like, okay, that's worrying, but there's no cancer in my family. I mean, I abided by the lovely list of things to do to reduce your risk of breast cancer or cancer in general. So I didn't drink very much. I trained well. I took great pride actually, and I ate well, trained well, was strong, fit. And I just took for granted that was going to get me through. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case. We presented to the doctor, but again, she was very much like, listen, there's no huge red flags here in terms of the things that you would look for when you're talking about cancer, particularly the history. But we'll send you in anyway. And we were in very fast. Yeah, I was sent in as an urgent case. I was seen about 3 weeks later.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. And up until that, so and when they got the diagnosis, it was stage 4 from the diagnosis.
Yeah. So when we presented, it was stage 2. They assumed it was stage 2. So they did what they call a triple investigation. So they do a mammogram, they do an ultrasound, and then they do a biopsy as well. Based on those 3 things, I asked the consultant straight out, I said, listen, what are you thinking without the results? And he did say to me, listen, I'll be very surprised if it's not malignant, but it's not in your lymph nodes. So we're thinking, okay, it's not in the lymph nodes, so we're maybe looking at a stage 2, worst case scenario, best of a bad lot. So we thought that was the case and went off and got, they have what they call diagnosis scans that you get, or staging scans that you get done to kind of just tie up all your loose ends or whatever. So when I met my consultant, I'd had those scans, but he hadn't actually seen them. So I met him, and he's fabulous. And he went through my care plan with me and what we were going to do. And then I very quickly said to him, I have my scans done as well, but he hadn't seen them. So he's pulling up the scans and in real time is saying to me, come here to me, there's something showing up in your liver here. And I haven't seen this before now. But it's not in your lymph nodes. But we actually have to hold this plan now and go and get a biopsy of your liver before we can decide what we're doing. So I've gone in, and poor old Brian has COVID in the car. And I'm going in going, sure, I don't need you with me. Sure, what's the worst that's going to happen? We're meeting the consultant. We're well on our way. Thought that we had the worst over us. So going in thinking we'd a stage 2, coming out with a stage 4, a very apparent stage 4, even though he hadn't said it, because he technically was like, we don't know what we're dealing with until we biopsy it. But on biopsy, it was positive for one of the tumor drivers, so I'm a triple positive. I have triple positive cancer. So it's driven by estrogen, progesterone, and HER2. So it's a protein that we manufacture in our bodies, and the liver was positive for the HER2 as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you have an operation?
No. So the most invasive therapies that I've had, or procedures, have been biopsies. I've had no mastectomy, so the reasoning for that is because it's in my system. The mastectomy is not going to change the plan going forwards. My treatment will stay the same.
Right.
So it's not going to change anything. So there was no need to have tissue removed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like getting that diagnosis then from a stage 2 to a stage 4?
Oh my gosh,
what goes through the head?
What goes through the head? We were coming home, and this is no word of a lie. I was burying myself in the car. I was coming home going, what do we do now? Like, where do we go? What? I don't want to die. I have 2 small kids. And what's really odd is you're coming home and you're going, how do I now go from trying to process this information to picking up my 2 kids and doing dinner, bath and bed? How do you do that? Like, how do you compartmentalise when you haven't even had the chance to come home, to even process that information? And Brian is beside me, and sure, he's not fit to... neither of us are able to even talk. And I just kept saying to him, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Like, how are we in this position? I don't want to die. So I had myself very much dead and buried, to be completely frank. Because I look back on that time and I do think I had no exposure to anybody living with a long-term illness, particularly cancer, say specifically breast cancer, because that is my situation. So I'd never seen anybody go through treatment or live in maintenance or understand that it's not the end of the road. There are so many treatments out there that are keeping women, amazing women, alive, and men alive for many, many years. I heard stage 4 and thought, shit, this is the end of the road, like. Which, yeah, I mean, there are no words. It's very, yeah. And again, trying to figure out how do I go put the kids to bed tonight now? Yeah.
You can't just go on as normal, as if.
Yeah. Yeah, and then hit a very black hole the following morning, actually. Got the kids off, did everything, was on a bit of autopilot, and it, like, the physical manifestation of that pain is, like, incomprehensible, because it's like, I can't even explain it. It's just that external sort of physical auditory pain that you can't even put words on, because you're just trying to figure out what do we do now. And funnily enough, the nurse who'd seen me the day before rang me and very quickly gave me the proverbial or the metaphorical slap across the face and kind of said, come on now, come here to me. There's many women and men living with this. There's so many treatments, and this is what we're going to do. And people get 10, 20 years, and this is not the end of the road. And kind of really just pulled me back in and went, okay, come on, cop on now here a minute.
Yeah.
Just kind of bring it back. And that was all I needed, actually. Yeah. I just kind of was like, okay, right, we'll do that. But then you're living with fear. So I'm a physio at heart. We live by our movement. Like, we're constantly promoting movement. So then I spent all my time going around afraid to move this arm, because I was so afraid that I was going to move it to somewhere else in my body. And again, a beautiful nurse rang me and she was like, come here, would you quit that crack? Stop doing that. Yeah. Go out and hang your washing up. Get on with it. You're not going to do any other damage. Like, you're not doing, you're not going to damage yourself by doing this. But it's interesting when you think about survival and where your head goes. I can't even comprehend why I did that. Knowing what I do as a job, you know what I mean? Knowing what I do as a job. And I'd always be moving and promoting movement and whatever. And here I was afraid to even move the arm because I was afraid it was going to go somewhere else. And but it's mad what you do.
And was there a sense, because you were working in a hospital and you were surrounded by all that anyway, that you had a good base of support and, you knew you had sort of everything around you that was going to get better, that was there for you?
Probably not so much through work, because I would predominantly work in orthopedics. But I do see breast patients. We see them, they come in for their removal of breast tissue of sorts, so lumpectomies, mastectomies, they'll have lymph node biopsies, whatever. So we would see them. I wouldn't see them regularly, but we do see them. But I knew the process by which things would happen, in the sense of how to go through the system, and how to advocate for myself in terms of pushing forwards the liver biopsy, say, or whatever scans and bits and pieces I had to have done. I was telling my the public hospital to send them across to my work and then I would chase them at work.
Okay.
And get that side of it done. So and the hospital were amazing at that. They and all the staff involved were fantastic at kind of helping me get those scans and get everything done ASAP so that we could start treatment ASAP. And definitely from a HR and a hospital group, they were incredibly supportive in terms of whatever you need. You know, do you want to work? Do you want to stay off? What do you want to do?
Okay. Brilliant.
They were amazing from that standpoint. But I suppose a lot of it outside of that was just navigating it ourselves and actually becoming more familiar with the symptomatic breast clinic and the staff there. And I'm so very, very lucky as well. My sister-in-law is an oncology nurse pharma consultant. So she is working in that arena.
Right.
So was able to help me navigate that as well.
Yeah. And you say you got breast cancer originally, but you also liver. So two different types of cancer.
No, so the liver is breast cancer. So it's one of the drivers for the breast cancer has spread to the liver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's the one type of cancer. So it's a triple positive breast cancer. But one of the drivers for the breast cancer has just gone into the liver. So it's the same cancer, just gone to another organ.
Okay.
And has since gone to my bones as well.
Right.
In July.
Okay.
Yeah. So it changed it, which is interesting from a cancer, I suppose, point looking at it objectively, is that we would spend 2 years on a particular regime. It was working really, really well, but then it got kind of sneaky and changed its colours. So the levels had changed, which means it kind of changed its presentation and it turned up in my spine. So then we had to go for a bone biopsy for that and then change our regime of treatment. So I'm on a new regime since last July.
Okay. And what is what does your treatment look like? What is a typical treatment?
So at the moment, I have infusions every 3 weeks. So I'm on a drug called Inher2, which I'm so lucky for because it only became available in the public system since last June, and I started it in July. So I'm on that drug, it's given by infusion every 3 weeks. I have 2 or 3 medications that I take daily. One of them is all the time. One of them is every 21 days out of 28. What else? I have a bone strengthener that I get through an infusion every 3 months. I get a subcut injection every 3 months. I have scans every 3 months. I'm in with the consultant every 3 months. Yeah.
All right.
That's it in a nutshell.
Did you have chemo?
Yes.
So that was at the first?
Yes. So initially when we got our diagnosis and we got our plan and we got all our staging, you go in for your chemo, depending on the type of cancer that you have, the treatment will be decided by your consultant. So I had 6 rounds of chemotherapy and had all the bits and pieces. So lost the hair. I was very, very lucky. I was able to work through chemo. But I was not seeing patients. Obviously, the hospital were amazing. I worked from home. So I had my 6 rounds of chemo, and then because I'm stage 4 or because it has gone to another organ and because it's systemic, I will always need a maintenance. So we always have to treat my system. Okay. It's not just a case of stopping it and going, okay, you're done now and we'll have surgery and we're finished. Because the second we stop, it'll turn up somewhere else because it is in my system. So I'm always on a maintenance. So once we had the chemo finished, I started my first line of treatment that I was on for 2 years until the cancer then basically mutated around that medication and turned up in my spine. And now I'm on Inher2, which I'm on for the last nearly a year. I'll be on it a year in July.
And the chemo, you say you take you take that every now and then just to keep.
So we would have been on like a traditional chemotherapy for 6 sessions, and then the drugs you're given after that are an immunotherapy. So what they do is they block the estrogen, the progesterone, and this other protein, this HER2. So they all suppress all of those drivers to stop the cancer from progressing. Okay. And then the cancer got cute and mutated around those medications and those pathways that were blocked and turned up in my spine. And then when we biopsied that, the presentation was slightly different. So I'm now on what they call a postmenopausal regime. So I'm basically on if somebody who was postmenopausal got cancer, I'm on their regime now. So I'm on estrogen blockers, and this drug Inher2 is a mixture of chemotherapy and an immunotherapy. So I'm on a bit of a mixture now.
And this cancer is the same cancer.
Same
that's
cancer.
just changed the path.
Yeah,
basically
just changed
that's what
the
it
path.
has. So
exactly. Yeah.
it hasn't it kind of mutated, but it's just changed its path.
Yeah, changed its colour slightly and presentation, and then turns up somewhere else. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So that's why they're monitoring you
Very
to
closely.
see if it changes again or where it can go to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but it's still the same. So when you say you changed it slightly, did they change the medication and your treatment?
Oh yeah.
To stop it from hopefully moving again? Is that?
Yes. So when I was initially diagnosed, when they score your estrogen and progesterone, you're scored out of 8, and I was scoring really high. I was scoring 6s and 7s out of 8. So they put you on the medication then to suppress those. When we did the biopsy for the spine, I was scoring 4 out of 8 for both. And I'm now what we call HER2 low, which means that the HER2 receptor that sits on the cells, there aren't too many spikes sticking out. So Herceptin, which I would have been on historically, the HER2 receptors, there aren't enough of them for the Herceptin to pick them up, but they're still there.
Mm.
So this in HER2, then the chemotherapy will pick up what the Herceptin isn't picking up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The little, say, spikes that are sitting on the protein. So yeah, it's basically, so we're on this new regime now that's kind of addressing the lower levels that are being picked up as a result of the biopsy.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. Yeah. So then when did you start getting your head together? When did you start going, if it ever did,
If it ever does.
Did it become normal?
Oh, does it ever become normal? I don't know, does it ever become normal? Because you're living with daily uncertainty, which is huge. I lived my life like fit well, trained well, ate well. I would have been, I'm no estrogen now, I would have been very internally driven. So I would make a decision and I would stand by my convictions and I would just crack on. And I was very secure in myself that way.
Mm.
Now it's very much like having to let go to the uncertainty. So the uncertainty of every day. And do you ever get your head together? I mean, you kind of learn to not anticipate and not to try and control the uncontrollable and to surrender basically to the unknown. That's the only way I think you can really, live with it. And the kids living in the here and now and being a bit more present and you and I did yoga together when I was in treatment, and that was hugely helpful. Just the ability to be able to move your body, I think, just sitting in the present is massive. You know, and then
and it's probably a strange one too, because you're probably living in the moment more than anything, but at the same time you've got kids. You have to plan for the future. You have to plan what's going to school runs, and you're constantly
planning.
What are we doing? But you're living and you're trying to live in the now, and that must be confusing and hard to get your head around.
It is bamboozling. And then you throw in one small little thing that's completely out of routine, and it throws the whole thing up in the air. Because you are planning, sure, like you're living by activities and kids and day-to-day life and work, and then having to think about work and what your priorities are, and kind of rethink what you want to do for yourself in the future. Like, am I really best placed doing what I'm doing now? Would I be better off doing something else? And then you have to make your peace with that, because you've no control over it. You're kind of being forced nearly into a position where you're having to rethink it rather than coming to that natural conclusion yourself. Yeah. Which I've resisted for quite a while. I'm much better at it now, but it's constant work. It's constant work, and we've calendars galore all over the place to keep us on track.
And obviously, I suppose everything. You're trying to be stress free as much as possible.
Trying to be stress free. I don't know, will we ever be stress free? But definitely reassessing what warrants my energy and time and what doesn't.
Right.
The levels of conversation and engagement I give situations and people. Oh my God, I think about it all the time.
Right. So you prioritise a hell of a lot more.
Absolutely. Even the level of conversation I'll have with somebody, I will literally weigh up. Do I need to do this? Do I not? Is it worth my time? Is it not?
Yeah. So I can imagine small talk isn't big on your on your agenda at the moment.
Go big or go home. It depends. It depends, but no.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation. But I don't really, probably. I like to, I want it to be meaningful.
Yeah, it makes
most
sense.
engagements
Which probably people don't understand because they don't know your situation.
Absolutely.
And you can't go around telling everyone either. It's a strange one. And then I suppose the big one as well is like your husband.
Yes.
Like, how does that? How does that go?
How does that go? How is it going? Poor Brian. Yeah, listen, I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like to be sat opposite me, or to be sat opposite somebody that you love and adore, and to feel so helpless. It's different when you're the person dealing with it, because even though you're out of control, you can still control what you do and what you don't, and all those bits and pieces. So poor Brian, I can't begin to imagine what it's like for him to be the other side and not know how to help. And to feel really helpless and out of control as well. But he's doing really well. Bless him. He's doing fantastically well. But he does struggle. He struggles. It's a whole family thing. It's not just one individual. It affects my parents. It affects Brian's family, obviously. Then we have my sister-in-law, who obviously works with my consultant. So she's very living in that world and knows the ins and outs, and is, to be fair to her, very, very careful around what she says and doesn't say. But equally is very supportive for him, and he has an amazing family, and we're very, very lucky to have all of them. But Brian is, Brian spends a lot of his time worrying about me, and he needs to probably find his own path for himself, if that makes sense, or find his own.
Because I think that's one of the big things when you're looking after someone with cancer. I remember with my own mum, you're just positive. It's like, we're going to get better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I don't remember ever asking, were you able to do that? Because my mindset was just, no, this is fine, and clearly wasn't. So it's just, I suppose, trying to navigate. Like, what are you going through? There must be days when you're just like, just everyone go away and leave me alone. I just want to lie on the couch.
Oh, God, yeah.
I don't want a cup of tea. Stop asking me.
Absolutely.
Things like that where that's hard. It's hard for you, but obviously hard for the person who's trying to look after you, trying to know what is the right thing to do.
Out of curiosity, did you ever ask your mum, what do you need? And if not, why not?
I didn't, because I think my mindset was, I went and we had a plan. We were going to get better, and we're going to go juicing. And my mum loved her food, and I know she hated every second of the juicing, but the juicing was going to make you better. And then I juiced with her, and everyone was fine, and it wasn't fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say she was miserable.
Okay.
But I didn't realise that until years later. It's only now I'm looking back going, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Of course you did.
To get it. Yeah. But clearly just days she wasn't even able to walk or see. I remember we had the dog, and she loved the dog. Before she had a granddaughter.
Yeah.
And I remember looking out the window one day going, where's the dog? I haven't seen him. Where is he? And he was standing up looking in at her at the window. So she was losing her sight as well.
Yeah, okay.
And we didn't know that was a thing.
Okay, yeah.
And it's only now, and I look back, you're so engaged. It's just why I was wondering, like with Brian, like you're so engaged to get that person back well again.
You're kind of soothing your own soul, aren't you? With your own.
I think so, yeah.
With good intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just want to go back to being happy families. Want to go back to normal again. And
because there's a pain in the acknowledgement of the reality of the situation, and sometimes that's a harder thing to do as well. I'm not saying that is the case for you, but it's a hard one to kind of sit with, I think. And then we're desperately kind of floundering to figure out like that, the juicing and the bits and pieces and what is the best way forward. But we're working with the best of what we have,
Yeah, and you just wonder, like, if there was something around or something that would teach us the empathy of what. So that's why this talk is important, because it's like how you felt when you were going through treatment. So I'm sure there's lots of other husbands and wives out there now that are going through the same thing.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And wondering.
And there's a vulnerability with it. The thing is everybody is so different. I have always, like, I took great pride turning up to work in my little cap. And anyone that came up to me, I was so pleased that they were coming up going, how are you? You're here. You've no hair. Those days I had a wig on and it was roasting. And I was like the witches from the movie The Witches. And I was going around with the hair, forgetting myself in the department. And I would do it at home, no problem. But almost encouraging people to come up and ask, how are you? How is treatment? How are you doing? And then very quickly I would have people say to me, well, not everybody wants to talk about it. And not everybody in chemo wants to be asked how they are. And there is a vulnerability with it. Like I remember we had I was coming to the end of my treatment and I was bringing Brian in actually for an appointment in our hospital. And at this point, I thought I had a very clear pattern of symptoms post-treatment. So I knew on day 12 I would be tired, and then on day 14 maybe we might be running to the loo or whatever it was. And we would make light of it, myself and Brian. And we were on our way in to the hospital and we got as far as Galway Crystal and I was driving. And I literally said to Brian, oh my God, I have to go to the toilet. I'm not going to make it to the hospital. And Brian is beside me and he's like thinking this is great crack. And he was just laughing. He was like, what are you talking about? Because we'd always made light of it. Yeah. Because I had never been in the situation where I had basically been caught short. And I'm there going, what are we going to do? And we rocked up to wherever, Merlin stores. Oh my God, and they were amazing. And the two beautiful ladies in the shop were like, absolutely, head in there, do what you need to do, all fine. But I remember coming out and I just started crying and Brian could not understand why I was crying. But it was just in that moment of just the vulnerability of it that I could suddenly see this is why people don't want to leave the house when they're in treatment. This is why they don't want to see people calling over. Because the pattern of, even though you think you might know the pattern of symptoms, when you're in that situation, it just can sneak up on you. And it suddenly changed that whole experience then for me and Brian. And suddenly he was kind of looking at me going, why are you crying? And I'm like, well, I've just had a little moment where you just, the vulnerability of it. But I would say it's probably engaging with the person at their level. I would be very direct anyway, so I'm very much like just ask the question, there's never any problem. But I suppose you'll never go wrong with asking the person or asking them, what can I do to help you? Is there anything I can do? Maybe dropping down some food, maybe just a text message. The number of cards that I received from people I didn't even know, and they meant the world, because just the fact that somebody was thinking of you. I'd often have a walk around the pitch and somebody would stop me and I'd know them to see and they go, oh my God, I'm saying a prayer for you. And I'm like, gosh, that's just really lovely. And it's just those small little acts of kindness that don't cost the world. But as family members, I think we can be driven by our own agendas and what we want to achieve and what helps us soothe our soul. But it's with good intention of trying to help that person. But I do think having the conversation of how can I help you? What do you need today? Maybe might be a good starting point to open that conversation. But I suppose it depends on the dynamic of a family as well. Yeah,
I suppose it's trying to get it out of your head that it's not about you. Even though I don't mean it in the bad way, that it's about them and...
Oh gosh, it's all encompassing.
The way you want to make them better might not be the right way.
Absolutely.
To get them better.
Exactly. But at the same time, we all work with the best of the tools that we have available to us. So I think if you know someone's intentions, you'll know that, we'll all know that it's not coming from a bad place. But I think, asking the question of what do you need rather than what do I need? What do I think you need?
Yeah. And just talking to family then, when we talk about the kids.
Yeah.
Do you talk about when kids are young? Do you mention it to them, or do you just say? Yeah.
So really early on, we didn't know what to do because at the time Tiernan was only turning 6. Imogen was literally learning to walk. She was 16 months. So we were like, we don't know what to do here. And again, no previous exposure to anybody with cancer, hadn't witnessed or experienced that cohort of patients or people. We're like, we don't know what to do. And again, my sister-in-law was fantastic, contacted a child psychologist for us who rang me. And I had a conversation with her and she literally said to me, this is what you make it. So you can normalize this in whatever way you want for him. He will, and I say he, I'm speaking about Tiernan, your kids are going to gauge what this is based on how you frame it to them.
Okay.
So if you don't use the word cancer and you're hiding it, they're going to pick up on that. And then if somebody at school says one of their family members has died of cancer, that can lead to an awful lot of fear for him through the unspoken.
Right.
So we have always used the word cancer. He knows that I have a lump on my breast. We talk him through, I say him, predominantly, Imogen's now 4.5, so she's very clued in now. But we talk about my medicine all the time. They come into the hospital with me.
Okay.
They often come to Portiuncula. They knock on the door. They deliver sweets and biscuits to the girls inside, and they have a little nosy. And then they're great again for about 6 months, and then they'll go, can we go to your hospital with you today? They've often come in with me for scans.
Okay.
We just, the thing is, this is our life now, and
Right.
it is what we make it. We can't surround them with fear around it. Obviously, we want to protect them. And when you have, like, say, when we had that progression back in July, and you're just faced with, what do we do now, kind of thing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Nothing changes for them.
Yeah.
It's just a change of regime or whatever. So whenever I'm going in for scans, like Tiernan's fascinated with cannulas, so the needle that goes in your arm. So anytime we go for a scan, we tend to bring him with us, and they put in the cannula, and then I deliberately come out and I show it to him, and I sit with him for a few minutes, and we go in and we have the scan and we come out and it's all done. And they come home, we leave the plasters on after we've had injections, and they get to take the plasters off, and we just kind of build it into life. Now, there are times that it is frustrating, particularly the fatigue, because there's huge fatigue, particularly with this treatment I'm on right now. So I'm a week over my last treatment. So I would have had a lot of fatigue over the weekend or whatever. And that's frustrating because they want to go to the park and they just want to get out and about, and
Right.
you kind of get fed up of saying, oh, mom's tired today or whatever, and you're trying to explain, and they just want to go to the park. Like they get, like kids do. They just get fed up of you telling them you're tired. But we offload that then to someone else to bring them to the park.
It's brilliant. And when your fatigue hits, like, it's wiped? Is it a...
Oh my gosh, it's a fatigue that I can't even explain. It's not even fatigue. It's like a weariness that takes over your body. And it's like your brain is still really active. So you're sitting here going, I have X, Y, and Z to do. And your body's going, yeah, no, it's not going to happen today.
Right.
You're not moving. And then you don't realise actually how tired you are until you go to bed, and then you're zonked. So if we take, for example, last weekend, I spent Sunday, I got up at I went to bed at 9, I got up at 9, I was back in bed at 11:30, I got up at 2:30, and I was back in bed again at 9 that night. Absolutely just zonked. Yeah, it's a tiredness that no matter how much sleep you get, you're still tired when you wake up.
Right.
And there's no other, it's very hard. It's a hard one to try and
does
explain.
that last long?
On this particular treatment, and this is different now to chemo, when I would have been in chemo. So when I would have been in chemo, I would have had 3 days of really just wiped. This is about 4 days. So I'm in treatment normally on a Wednesday. I stay with my parents on a Wednesday night, and I'm going to bed at 7. And then Thursday I give a yoga class, and then I'm zonked for the afternoon. And then Friday we might be tipping for the first part of the day, and we're back in bed again that afternoon. And then we're Saturday, Sundays when it really hits, and then we're just flattened.
Okay.
And then we're back at work on Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's what, on a 3-week cycle.
That's 3 week cycle. Yeah.
That's tough, isn't it? That you're losing 2.5, 3 days essentially.
Yeah. It's really frustrating because the first regime I was on, there was no recovery time. I would have infusions on a Thursday, and I would be playing basketball on a Thursday evening. Sometimes I'd go to training, and if I wasn't at training on a Thursday, I was at training on a Saturday morning. So there was never any. I was kind of losing track of, when are we in again? What, oh, they'd give you a phone call. Oh, we're in tomorrow. This, you're a little bit resentful because it's a harder treatment. So we've gone from not needing any recovery time into, every 3 weeks losing 3-4 days to side effects. Yeah, predominantly fatigue and nausea. And then having to maintain some semblance of normality and work and seeing
And
patients.
has food-wise, has your diet changed? Not necessarily because you wanted to change it, like, but because of your treatments. Is there things you can't eat or don't agree with you?
Prior to this new regime, I didn't do anything different. This new regime, so for the first week after treatment, I'm on a tummy liner a lot of the time because I get quite bad indigestion, sluggish gut, constipation, nausea. So any sort of real rich food, spicy food, real simple carbohydrates. So like all your typical like hangover food that you really want, but it really doesn't do you any good in the long run.
Right.
So like chicken noodles are a lovely one, but no, we can't have them.
Really? So
Oh my God, literally feels like glue in my stomach. Yeah, I can't tolerate it at all. So I tend to find I have to graze all day long. Graze on whatever. And I'd love to sit here and tell you that it's all lovely fruit and nuts and veg and all the roughage and all the fibre. It's not. It's all crackers, toast, beige pasta.
Lovely.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, so that's not nice. Chocolate, you can eat chocolate though.
Can eat chocolate, but with the treatment it gives you a salty mouth, so everything tastes really salty. So actually chocolate doesn't taste particularly nice.
So, and is that saltiness constant?
No, just for the first week.
Just for the first week.
So
and
I'm
then
coming out the back of it today actually.
And then
Thursday.
you can eat normally
and
then.
then I'm back to brass tacks again, back to all the lovely fruit and veg and all the nice stuff again.
At least so just a week out of that. So
and a week out of that, yeah. But it's and I don't even bother trying to kind of, what's the word, like mitigate for it. I don't actively not eat the stuff. I just roll with it because it's all about surviving. It's just getting through. But I mean, that is hard in itself then, because obviously with treatment and you're dealing with weight gain and puffiness and all the lovely side effects that come with that. Then with the whole hormonal changes due to treatment and swelling and all that crack. So
and that changes. And do you find then if you have a hard day at work and you're on your feet, does that change physically? Do you get more swelling? Do you get more tired?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I would have a little bit of swelling on my lower left leg from work, but I wear compression stocking and I wear a sleeve as well on this side because I get a little bit of lymphedema on this side from too much exertion. Stress actually as well brings it about. So that's the other thing I've learned in the last 6 months, really interestingly, is your body really does keep your score. And for me, stress comes through physically, manifests itself in my body through lymphedema. So I'll get swelling, residual swelling through the arm, get a dull ache. So the stress side of it really does play into managing those symptoms.
Okay. And what do you do for yourself to help manage those? Like, do you got lymph massage or things like that? Is there things that you do for yourself to try and maintain and regulate?
So breath work is great. So there's a lot of evidence and research to support breath work in managing lymphedema. So the swelling in the upper limb or the lower limb. Yoga. And what else do I do? They're actually the main two things. Pilates. Any sort of movement, really. But predominantly breath work, actually. For myself. Yeah. And yoga.
And are you able to walk around, like go for long walks and stuff like that? Does that affect you?
Oh, God, yeah.
That's fine.
Oh, yeah. Long walks are great. So, yeah, I've kind of cut down on anything overly exertive like running or anything like that at the moment. But that wasn't because of the managing symptoms. It was more to do with the new treatment and fatigue and trying to kind of pace and figure out where do we want to best spend our energy here, trying to get moving without flattening myself. So I've stopped with basketball at the moment as well, just to try and figure out like where's my energy best placed. So walks, absolutely. I give a yoga class on a Thursday myself. I do my own yoga. Like I said, I do a lot of breath work, meditation. I do Pilates on a Wednesday. So we're kind of slowing down or reducing the exertion, but maintaining the intensity.
Okay, the strength and the.
But keeping it kind of low intensity.
Yeah, and do you find does it affect you like going on holidays, things like that? Everything has to be planned around your treatments and.
So annoying.
Yeah.
So annoying. Yep. And I was really, and again, this is the control side of it is prior to our progression. Or prior to the progression of my disease in July, I would have been very regimented about, no, we can't do this on this date. We didn't want the date to change. I was very regimented around that. And then I just thought, why am I bothering? This is going to do what it's going to do anyway. So I'm now less regimented about that. So now I just ask for treatment to be moved if it clashes with holiday.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
You're just living.
Just living.
Just living.
Yeah. Because it's going to do what it's going to do anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, when you look at it that way.
But it's interesting because it's all about control. It's all about trying to navigate what can I control, what can I not, and then at the same time you're going, why am I even bothering stressing about this?
Yeah.
So we actually have a holiday booked in Spain in October. I don't even know whether it clashes with treatment or not. I have no idea. We'll figure it out. It'll be grand.
And do you find as well, because of the treatments and because is your immune system, is it down a little bit? Do you find getting more colds? You're getting other things that you wouldn't normally get?
Yeah. So my consultant will argue with me that we're fine. But yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. My immune system is definitely slightly lower. And it is because of the nature of my treatment. When you're on an immunotherapy and I've got a little bit of chemo in there, absolutely. He will maintain it's not, he would actually say it's overstated probably, that it's not as low as I think it is. However, I would say that I definitely catch way more than I have ever done before.
Right.
Yeah, particularly from the kids. The kids have anything, I've got it straight away. Work, less so, funnily enough, but I would see elective patients. So a lot of them are predominantly well anyway.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't be too heavily involved with medically unwell patients. And we have a plan in place to address that for me anyway. But I would typically, I would pick things up much quicker. Anything, vomiting bugs, head colds, sinus infections, throat infections.
Okay.
Yeah, just typically. And if again, stress can impact that. Or if I overdo it with living, it can just take its toll as well and just lead to mouth ulcers, nose ulcers, hemorrhoids can flare up as well. Yeah, like loads of different.
So you could have, you kind of have a bad week out of the 3, but you could end up having more days after, it's
exactly.
not just.
Yeah, absolutely. So take for example, my parents were in America in January and my sister had the flu over there and my dad got the flu while he was there. They came home. We didn't see them for nearly a week and he was over what he thought was the worst of it and I still got it off him and ended up coming out of treatment and being sick with the flu. No, sorry, was sick with the flu and then treatment had to be deferred for another week too. Yeah,
okay, so there's
that. So even with the giving it the space and the time, yeah, can still end up.
And would you be on I know you're on medication as well. Would you be on a range of supplements as well, like vitamins, minerals?
So again, only recently I've started to pick them up. So I'm on a B12 for the mouth ulcers, and then a vitamin C to help with the absorption of the B12. I'm on a lysine because cold sores are also coming up from this treatment, and a magnesium to help with gut mobility or reduce motility post treatment. Yeah, but they're the only supplements I'm on.
And would they be infused or would they be just?
Oh, they're my own. No, they're over the counter. Yeah, but they all have to be checked. So I can't take anything. People are fantastic at sending me lots of lovely stuff around different protocols and, ivermectin, all these different bits and pieces that they say, oh, you should take this with your treatment. I literally cannot take anything unless it goes through the oncology team. And that can be something as simple as a vitamin C supplement.
Right.
All has to be cross-checked and made sure that I can take it. So we don't have the luxury of just kind of going in and going, oh, I think I might go on a whatever.
Yeah.
Feeling a bit tired. I actually have to go and get it checked out, which is also very frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the luxury. Because I was on a supplement and I went to the manufacturer and checked that I could be on it and they were absolutely. And then a few months later, I had told the oncology team, and then a few months later, the oncology team actually followed up with this particular brand and found out that the supplement was sourced in China. And they were like, you need to stop taking this now because we can't stand over the quality of what you're taking. So I had to come off that. So it's frustrating to a degree.
Okay, and just going back to when you first got diagnosed and
yes.
Brian, was any sort of counselling or therapies or anything like that? Did you go and see anyone? Or
oh gosh, yeah, we're always in counselling. Yeah, love counselling. Highly recommend it. Yeah, I'm in counselling all the time. We're so lucky. There are so many amazing services when you're an oncology patient. So I have counselling regularly. I'm in counselling every 2 weeks at the moment. Brian and I have been in marriage and counselling. We were in it once a month. Brian's had individual counselling. The kids have been through the Climb programme.
Oh, okay.
We've been through cancer support centres. They're amazing. We've been through the Irish Cancer Society. What else do we do? We've been in for massages and the lymphatic drainage practitioner. So there is a website of manual lymphatic drainage practitioners who specifically treat lymphedema and to help with the movement of lymphatic drainage. So yeah, we're in all the services. I'm trying to think, what else do I do? Anything we can get our hands on.
Anything that helps.
Yeah, anything that helps. Yoga. We've done yoga. And the kids have access like that. We had a child psychologist. We had access to that as well through UHG. So there are lots of services there. It's just,
and that sort of kicks in from the diagnosis. You can
you kind of have to look for it yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, we're very lucky. My sister-in-law had all of them, was able to tell me exactly what's there. But once you get into the system, so I would have finished counselling up until my progression, and then the girls in the oncology day unit in the hospital I have treatment in, they were very quick to say, listen, you need to, probably good idea to get back into therapy, you're going to go back into some sort of counselling. So they're very, very good at promoting all the local services.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give somebody who's just got a diagnosis recently? Anything that...
That's a big question.
It's a huge one, and probably not a fair one, but...
It's a loaded question.
But what would... I suppose looking back to when you got yours, is there anything that you would have done differently now, knowing what you know now?
Oh wow, God, that's a lot. There's a lot in there now, Daryl. Advice, I don't know. I think take all the supports that are there, use them. That's what they're there for. There are some really amazing people involved in these services. Advocate for yourself. That's another huge one. I think as it's an Irish thing, we're very quick to wait our turn and wait patiently. Don't wait patiently. Time is of the essence, regardless of whether you're stage 1, 2, stage 4, whatever. Advocate for yourself, because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. And ask the question. Always ask the question. Because if somebody doesn't know, they'll go and find out for you. And then what would I do differently? I don't even know. Nothing. I don't think because I didn't know any different, so I wouldn't change what I've done. Yeah. But I would say to anybody supporting anybody with the diagnosis is ask that person, what do you need? Can I do anything for you? And then they'll guide you very quickly on what they do need or want or what they don't need. Hopefully.
Which is just as important.
It's just as important, yeah.
But to get the help as soon as you can.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people don't reach out because they probably go internal or keep it to themselves, but...
Yeah, there's a real vulnerability and a privacy with it, and some people are afraid of other people knowing. It's probably a thought process I will never understand because it's not how I operate, but I can respect that is how somebody... But you're essentially denying yourself of so many fabulous interactions with people and services that are there to support you. So I think people are being maybe a little bit unfair on themselves, denying themselves of that, but equally the want for control as well is, when you can't control anything else, you'll take what you can get. And
you can get, and in fairness, the services are amazing at the moment.
They are. Oh my gosh, they are.
For the oncology,
they really, really are. Yeah, yeah. And the team are amazing. Anybody who's involved in oncology, it is a real calling, no more than I think any other service specific to different areas. They will know. And those women and men are flat out on the phone advocating for oncology patients every day and looking for samples of this, that and the other, and looking for people to come in and give talks on supplements and bring in prosthetics, and bra fittings, and again, I'm being specific to breast cancer. It's the same for men with prostate cancer and secondary cancers and all the different groups that are available. There's loads available through online. ARC is another group that I worked with online. They actually do a breast cancer and menopause 8-week educational group that I engaged with as well. They were amazing. So there's loads, Irish Cancer Society, ARC, there's loads of them. Yeah.
Brilliant. So there is, it's just get your head around it and reach out.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's plenty of...
And people will reach out in their own time, because it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's
huge. It must take a while to process.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it the next day. It must take...
It takes a while. And it's an evolution. It's evolving, I suppose, depending on your situation. Because some people will have a very definitive start, middle and end.
Right.
While we're just obviously evolving and changing. And depending on our situation, or my situation, the services like that, the counselling, you'll dip in and out of things depending on what you need in that moment. And even my kids are asking to go back into the Klein programme. So that's a real testament to the women who ran it.
Brilliant.
Which is amazing. But yeah, reach out.
Sinead, thanks so much. That was a brilliant insight into
Thanks for having
to living something that I'm sure a lot of people are going to, what they say, 1 in 2 is going to.
1 and 2, absolutely.
So far, so if they're not going through it already, the possibilities of going through it at some stage in the future is extremely high. So hopefully this talk will help people and to get through it.
Absolutely. And just remember that 90% of people who are diagnosed with cancer do not have a family history. Only 10% have a family history. So
wow,
I'll put my hand up to that one because I'm one of those people.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon.
Cool.
Take care.